Hi there, I'm Coach Ray and welcome to this video about how to manage and add goals in the HumanGo web-based app.
Let's go to view your goals from your race plan view. Top right hand side of the screen, you're going to select the goals icon. At the top half of the screen you can see the existing goals in the season. If I had completed goals, they would be displaying on the bottom half of the screen here. Now from the goals page, we're going to go to the plus icon, top right hand side, and add a goal. I'm going to participate in a race. It's going to be a triathlon in this case, and it's going to be a full distance. But I want to show you where you can specify the leg distance and even add another leg. In this case, I've chosen a traditional length full distance triathlon, but I can add another leg here if I want. I can alter the distance here if I want. And I can create a custom goal. In this case, I'm just going to keep it as the default. Adding my name of my race, the date of my race, and I can put in a location here as well if I want. This is where I'm informing Hugo about how aggressively I would like to approach this race. I could either be discovering the distance, challenging myself and having fun, a little bit more serious. I could be competitive, looking for a PB, or I can set a specific custom target time. In this case, I'm just going to challenge myself and have fun. I want to do well. I can customize the number of taper and recovery days here if I want. I absolutely want every taper and recovery day that Hugo is suggesting here. I could select not needed if I want to, but I want all of these. And then I'm going to create my goal. Hugo really wants to know now how I'm going to approach my training week when it comes to that goal. Hugo's come up with a suggested number of sessions based on my max hours that I currently have available. But that's not enough for me. I'm going to edit my training week. And this is where I can make sure that the total hours and the format of my week, given the number of sessions per sport and the time allocation for each of these sessions, is as I would like. As per our other video about editing your training week, you can also select the wizard icon and change these parameters here. So looking at total time for the goal, number of sessions for the goal. Within there you have the option to specify time for that sport for each of the sessions given the phases. Again, that's explained more in our Configure Training Week video. I can tell Hugo when I want my long days, and then I can generate my training plan from there. So that's editing the training week before I continue to my plan. Now you can see the full distance triathlon is on my schedule here. I can also come up here, edit my training week, replan, and delete the goal. I can edit my goals from either of these two cards. Let's start with editing goals. Okay, we have several options here from this view: overview, phases, sub-goals, and race plan. Let's start with the overview. I can edit the name of my race, the location, the date. I can even edit the target for my race, meaning how aggressively do I want to go after that target time or expected time for that race. At the moment, this is set to challenge yourself and have fun, but it could be discover the distance, be competitive, and a custom target time. Hugo also recommends a certain number of taper and recovery days here. If I happen to change these within the editing option, I can always reset to default if I want to go back to Hugo's original suggestions. Then I can come up here to phases. This is where I can add a new phase if I choose. I can delete a phase or edit a phase. Editing a phase is a little bit more detailed. I can give it a specific name if I want, and even write a description in here that might be a little bit more explanatory around the adjustments that I've made down here per sport. And I can set the date range for this phase if I want to edit that. You can see here I have options for editing the details for each of the sports by selecting the sport here. I can edit the regular and long duration for the workouts here. I could make this, say, for example, an hour and 15. And then I can readjust the time allocation for each of the energy systems for that sport for this date range. So I could say, for example, instead of having an hour and 10 total time in tempo per week for this phase, I could change that to an hour. I can also add a tag here, meaning if I've added a specific tag to a workout that I've created from custom in the workout library, I can add that tag here and tell Hugo how frequently I would like that to be included in this phase. And then if I do want to reset to Hugo's defaults, I also have the option to reset here. Now let's go to sub goals. There isn't one here for this race yet, but I sort of see that this is a great opportunity to in fact add one of those. So let's add a sub goal. I'm going to participate in a run. It's going to be a 5K. It's going to be in a couple of weeks' time. Let's just call this 5K fun. I actually am not going to take any taper and recovery days here, and I'm creating the sub goal. And you can see that coming up here. Now, you can see the 5K fun goal here set up as a sub goal. If I go back to my phases, you can see the race here as a sub goal now displayed in my phases. I can also edit a sub goal here. I can delete it, and I can generate a specific race plan for that sub goal. Talking about race plans, then we can go over to the last option here, View Race Plan. This one has actually already been completed, but I can edit this by selecting the pencil icon top right. Selecting effort or duration will specify how Hugo is going to approach your race plan. But for effort, let's just go with moderate. It's a wetsuit swim and I'm a strong sighter. I've just learnt that this transition is actually a little longer. I really want to test myself on the bike. I've selected my bike here. I'm going to be riding a TT bike on the road. I can add a map here if I choose. That will give me the option to have Hugo break down that race course into smaller increments or intervals, specifying my pacing and my intensity. I'm going to keep that transition the same, and I'm going to go hard on the run to finish up on the road. Now for this race, I had added a fourth leg, being a bike leg, so I do have a T3 in this case. Pretty representative of the unusual or new up-and-coming race formats and distance of legs that are coming out in a lot of events these days. I'm going to add a hard intensity here, aggressive and road at the same time. So I can update the plan there, and Hugo will go to work and give me an expected race time up here. So from the edit goal option, where we've looked at the overview, the phases, the sub-goals, and the race plan, we also noticed in the first view, the overview, where I can edit my training week. We have another video about how to edit your training week, but this is another way to access your training week for each of your goals if you choose. This is where you can add an extra session, turn a day off for training, and even specify more detail for that goal. But I suggest you pop on over to the training week video to learn more about how to edit your training week. And then last, on the list of editing your goal, I mentioned earlier that I'd added a new leg, a fourth leg to my goal. This is where I did that. It was a traditional 1.5 swim, 40 kilometre bike ride, 10 kilometre run. I added a 15 kilometre bike ride to the end. And that's what you saw that showed up in the race planner. I can delete the leg here, and I can also add another leg. This is where our goal configuration comes into its own when we're talking about new formats of swim run, say for example, different distances of legs with a multi-sport duathlon or aquabike. So this is where you would be adding that specific leg